Today, I will be talking about the book of Philemon, which was written by Paul during one of his many imprisonments, and it is the shortest of the letters that he wrote. Now, Philemon was someone, by what little indications we can get from the letter, was probably a rich man and probably belonged with the upper class in the city of Colossae. And though we're not sure of what his profession was, we can only surmise based on Paul's itinerary that perhaps he was a businessman that Paul had come in contact with during one of his many trips and had worked alongside in the ministry with Philemon for a short while. Now, his letter was to Philemon about his slave Onesimus. It doesn't indicate what the issue was between Philemon and Onesimus is, and it doesn't explain how Onesimus and Paul had come into relationship with each other. But there are three theories as to how Paul and Onesimus had met, and the first of which is that Onesimus had fled his master to try to secure his freedom and his independence from his master, perhaps in another country, and had come across Paul in his travels. Another theory is that Onesimus had run away from Philemon with the intention of finding somebody that his master knew to talk to, who could come and intercede with them and be a mediator to help them with this situation. And a third theory is that Onesimus was not a runaway slave, but that Philemon had actually sent Onesimus to Paul to help Paul during his time of imprisonment. But whichever three of these is true, we do know this, that Onesimus had become a Christian through Paul, and that Onesimus had proven himself very useful to Paul, and that Paul considered Onesimus a brother in Christ, even a son, because he had brought Onesimus to the faith and had trained him up in the Christian faith. So this letter to Philemon was about reconciliation. It was more than just about a legal transaction. It was about koinonia, a relationship. Onesimus and Philemon were equals before God, and they shared the same need for forgiveness. So the ground was level before the cross, which means that Philemon and Onesimus can no longer relate to each other as master and slave, but as family members. They were brothers in the Messiah. And so Paul tries to appeal to Philemon by reminding him that they were once fellow ministers in the faith. And because of that, Philemon should therefore share the same convictions about this as Paul does. And so Paul makes this sympathy appeal to Philemon based on that. Now, it seems to me that Paul is not trying to change something, which is slavery, that he cannot change within the secular world by force. But he's trying to bring about a change within the church, which is antithetical to the worldview. Because to change the world, it must begin within the church. And if Philemon had decided to not release Onesimus, Paul would have been disappointed, but he would have understood that slavery was normative within the culture of that time. Which is why he wrote to the Ephesians in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. He said, "Slaves, be obedient to your masters according to the flesh." So rather than try to completely overturn culture, he gave the church new parameters in which to conduct themselves in their master and slave relationships until the culture of slavery could be eliminated through influence and through politics. And he was trying to do this by reconciling Philemon and Onesimus back to one another as brothers in Christ rather than as a master and a slave.